Part 58. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 573. Hachin Ge took a sip of tea, put down the cup, then leaned on the sofa and looked sideways into the cabin. At this time, the unicorn was squatting on the ground with a smile, teasing a wild chirp. Yujiang was standing at her feet, looking at this strange object very curiously. I didn't expect them to like this thing so much, Qin Ge said with a smile. Yes, it's very furry and cute. Girls generally like this kind of thing. Although for me, I can't say I like it, but I don't hate it either, Veneto said with a smile. But having said that, can the commander just leave the port area? There is no commander there now, the company on the side said with some worry. Qin Ge waved his hand. It doesn't matter. I am very relieved to have Frederick the Great sitting there. What's more, as this is our permanent residence in the future, we must go and take a good look at it. That's right. Once it is built there, we will all move to Guam, he said with a smile. But once we got there, it became quite far away. After all, according to the chart, Guam is 3,000 kilometers away from Donghuang, Veneto said. It doesn't matter, having you by my side is the best anyway, Qin Ge said with a smile. After hearing this, all the ship girls in the cabin looked at Qin Ge, and their eyes became gentle. Era, the commander suddenly said such touching words of love, which is a bit overwhelming. Prince Eugene smiled and said, it seems that Guanghui has educated the commander very well during this period. Qin Ge smiled helplessly. No, this is just a fact. You also know my identity, so it doesn't matter where I stay. On the contrary, as long as you are by my side in this world, all the bonds are here. Isn't this better? Commander said that, I'm actually looking forward to life in Guam, Veneto said with a smile. I'm looking forward to it too, Qin Ge said, and then he turned to look at the cockpit, where Bismarck was staring straight ahead. Bismarck, how far is it? Commander, we have only been traveling at sea for 2 days. According to the current rhythm, if the Siren fleet does not appear at sea, then we should arrive in Guam tomorrow morning, Bismarck responded. Qin Ge smiled and said, okay, it looks like it will take a few days. Almost, but in half an hour, we will face the battle. Everyone, get ready, Bismarck said solemnly. Yes. The route Qin Ge took was a waterway that had never been explored. At least after the Siren appeared in this world, almost no merchant ships passed by here. Because the eroded sea areas along this route are all level 4 to 5, it is not even ruled out that there are some Siren strongholds. So this time Qin Ge brought over most of the awakened ship girls and highly trained ship girls in the port area. In the past 2 days alone, they had encountered more than 5 waves of Siren fleets, hence the previous teasing. However, due to their strength, all battles ended in victory. After a short rest, everyone continued to think about the journey ahead. 3 days later, when the outline of Guam appeared in Qin Ge's field of vision, the ship girl on the ship let out a heartfelt admiration. Isn't this island a bit too big? Qin Ge smiled. Of course, Guam is located in the South Pacific and has always been a strategic location. In my world, Beijing has 2 military bases here, an air force base and a naval base. This is the core of their blockade of Donghuang's second island chain. How could it be so small? Several ship girls couldn't help but nodded. They had also heard Qin Ge talk about the situation in their own world. Although they were a little sad that the situation in that world had developed to that extent, the worldview of that world would not affect the harmony within the fleet at all. People generally regard what Qin Ge tells as a story that takes place in another parallel world. But having said that, are there any Aborigines on this island? Qin Ge thought, because there were Aborigines in Guam in that world. I don't know, but it doesn't matter even if there are Aborigines. This island is so big, and the area we need to occupy in the port area is only a relatively small part. So I think if there are indigenous people, we can live in harmony with them and provide them with certain protection. Veneto said. Indeed, Qin nodded. During the conversation, several command ships took the ships transporting Manju around Guam, trying to find a port where they could dock. In other words, finding a place to build in the port area. However, everyone was relatively lucky and quickly found a natural port. According to Qin memory, this port should be the port of Opera, the naval base of White Eagle in Guam in his own world. It's such a big port, and it's relatively hidden. Its outlet to the sea is relatively small. It's a port made in heaven. Even Bismarck was very impressed by this port. Yes, Qin nodded. From here we can directly reach Donghuang, and we can conduct factual cooperation with Ryukyu's frontline positions. And after turning right out of the port, you will see the vast Pacific Ocean, so we chose our base here. Good. However, just when several ships were about to dock, everyone discovered that there was a command ship parked in this natural hidden port. Command ship. Qin looked at the rusty command ship not far away and opened his mouth. Logically speaking, it is impossible for a command ship to appear here. Because this is basically an unexplored area, even if there are command ships coming and going, they are only doing tasks and will not go deep into the area so south. However, the most impossible thing happened, and reality is often so magical. Looking at the style of the command ship, it should be that of Donghuang, and the hull also has signs of damage. Based on the degree of rust, it should have been parked here for a year or two, Bismarck said at the side. Qin nodded. Let's dock first, and then you take a few people on board to see what's going on. Yes. Soon, everyone got off the boat. However, in order to prevent the command ship from being stranded in the shoal, everyone anchored when they were about 20 meters away from the shore. Qin originally planned to take the lifeboat on the command ship to go to the beach, but his fellow shipmate refused because of the trouble, and then he was carried to the shore by Prince Eugen. Although he clearly knew what these ship girls were thinking, Qin still felt very ashamed. At the same time that Qin landed, Bismarck also took several ship girls onto the long-abandoned command ship. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 574. How is it, Bismarck? Standing on the beach, Qin watched the ship girl directing the groups of barbarians to line up and gather on the beach. Suddenly he caught a glimpse of the Bismarcks returning from the abandoned command ship, and hurriedly walked over and asked. Most of the usable things in the command ship are gone, and the rest are some unusable things, and there are obvious signs of dismantling on them, so I think it is very likely that the owner of the command ship dismantled it, Bismarck replied. Qin was stunned when he heard this. So, Bismarck, are you saying that there is a commander and some ship girls on this island now? It's possible, Bismarck said. I just checked the entire hull and found that these hulls were blown here by waves and sea breeze when they lost power. Therefore, I judge that when the command ship approached here, it had already been lost power. And there are obvious drag marks on it. I think it may be the work of the ship girl. Qin couldn't help but be speechless. So, it's possible that the command ship encountered a big storm before, and then lost the power of the entire ship. Then it drifted with the tide and arrived near here. Then the ship's wife discovered the island, and then moved the command ship back to drag it here. 9 times out of 10, Bismarck nodded, and on an island like this, apart from allowing people to survive, there is basically nothing to supply the ship girls. And carrying his commander across the 5th level sea area, no ship girl should be able to do it, so I think they should still be on the island now. This is really magical, Qin said speechlessly. But our top priority now is not to find the commander and his ship girls, but to plan the area here first, and then make a sketch of the port area so that the Manju can start collecting materials. We will visit this island again when we have time. Yes, Commander, Bismarck said, leave these to us. Commander, please take a rest here first. It doesn't matter, you go and do your work, Qin Ji said. Yes. After all, Qin Ji still underestimated the strength of Manjiu. He saw them arrive on the island and immediately took action after confirming the location of the port. Many tools were brought out from unknown places, some for exploration, some for mapping, and they moved very quickly. The ship girl who originally wanted to intervene was also stunned on the spot, and could only watch Manjiu work. Then, like Brother Qin, he stood on the beach, chatting and watching the work progress. It only took an hour for a relatively large Manju to come to Qin Ji and ship Niang with a drawing. Qin Ji immediately took the drawing and unfolded it to find that it was the planning drawing of the port area. Ports, docks, port gates, office areas, scientific research areas, accommodation areas, playgrounds, and other facilities are all available. Tisk, that's awesome, Qin Ji said in admiration. Sure enough, as the Wasp said, these little guys are really amazing in terms of logistics. Veneto was also very surprised. Choo choo choo. Just when Qin Ji and the ship girls were admiring, the barbarian chirped. Qin Ji suddenly looked confused, but the ship girl next to him knew what Manjiu was talking about, because they both belonged to the same mental cube and there was no language barrier. Commander, does it say it's confirmed? If there are no changes, they will start work, Bismarck said. Qin Ji quickly shook his head and said to Manjiu, although this design is very powerful, it is not suitable for our large fleet, so we need to make some changes on it. Chirp, Man Chirp called. Commander, if it says what changes are to be made, you can explain it directly to him. Bismarck continued to act as a translator. Qin Ji pointed to the drawing and said, first of all, let's distinguish the port here. This area will be the outer port, and the area inside will be the inner port. Connect the area in the upper right corner of the outer harbor to create a reception area and leisure area. The inner harbor is divided into two areas, and the office area is located in the center of this area. On the left, we build the residential area belonging to our fleet, as well as some supporting areas. As for the right side, the residential areas belonging to other members of our construction and some other supporting areas are built. Build a warehouse under the office area, build a playground on the left side near the sea, and build a scientific research area and other supporting areas on the right. Qin Ji was very detailed about Manjiu, because this will be the base of his fleet from now on, and if he needs to stay here for a long time, he must follow his own plan. I have a large number of ship girls, almost equal to the number of ship girls in other members of the Grand Fleet, so living together in the same place will cause a lot of inconvenience. It is better to distinguish it from here, with the office area as the boundary. The left side is the accommodation area for your own fleet, and the right side is the accommodation area for other members of the large fleet. The two accommodation areas are all connected to the office area, and above the office area is the gate of the port area, while the other areas are below the office area and are public areas. Of course, this is just a preliminary plan. As Brother Qin's fleet becomes stronger and stronger, more and more supporting facilities are required. In the future, the area of the port area may be expanded as necessary. But at that time, I believed that I already had the barbarian made by my own port area, so the next project could be completed by my own port area alone. After listening to Qin Ji's description, Manjiu nodded quickly, then immediately took out a pen and a piece of paper, and quickly started drawing on the ground in front of everyone. Soon, a sketch of the ideal port area described by Qin Ji was completed in Manjiu's pen. Chirp, Manchu shouted at Qin Ji. Commander, it asked if it was like this, Bismarck said. Qin Ji looked at the picture and nodded immediately, it looks like this, no problem. Chirp. Chirp, Manju said while nodding. It said that since it has been determined, let people send the materials over, and construction can start now. This must be a grand project, Bismarck said. Qin smiled and then looked at Belfast aside. Belfast immediately understood what Qin meant and took out a relatively large cat claw device from his ship's installation space. This cat claw device is what Akashi gave Qin before. Using this device, Akashi can go directly to Guam from any of his stores. As Belfast placed the device on the beach and started it, a blue light soon appeared in the device. When the light disappeared, a green-haired figure appeared on the device. "Good afternoon, Commander Qin. Meow, is this Guam?" "Hello, Akashi, this is Guam. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Hwangming Muji. Chapter 575. After handing over the materials to Akashi, the project began to proceed as scheduled. Seeing the cute Manjiu carrying those large materials such as beams and pillars and erecting them easily, Qin had a new understanding of the magical level of this world. However, the ship girls didn't feel anything at all, they just felt it was a bit novel. Because they are the original owners of the Mind Cube energy, they know very well how powerful energy is contained in their bodies. As Manjiu, who is also driven by the energy of the Mind Cube, it makes sense to be able to use such a powerful force. Suddenly I realized that what Wasp said was right, Guanghui said with a smile. With Manjiu's help, it seems that all we can do is protect them and then watch them do it. Qin smiled and said, after all, we are not professional in construction projects. In short, let them repair the port as soon as possible, so that our ships can be berthed at the pier, which will be much more convenient. Commander, don't you need to let Manju build a temporary residence first? New Jersey asked from the side. Qin shook his head. We will live on the command ship for the time being and take turns to protect Manju, so that we can sleep in the room. Hey, I always feel that sleeping on the command ship is not as comfortable as on land, Veneto said with some disappointment. Qin couldn't help but be speechless. A battleship actually said that it was not as comfortable as on land. What was this? It doesn't matter. We can build a temporary shelter by ourselves. We don't need any help. After all, our hands-on skills are not bad, right? New Jersey said excitedly. Can I make it out of sand? Veneto asked excitedly. Sand is not very strong, but it is good for grounding. Hey, can it only be used as a ground? I also want to use sand to build a fighting arena. Seeing more and more ship girls joining the conversation between Veneto and New Jersey, Qin couldn't help but rub his forehead, turned to Bismarck and said, let them set up temporary shelter here, let's go deep into the island, look around to see if anyone is still here. No problem, but what about the commander's clothes? Bismarck said to Qin. Qin looked down at the commander's uniform and leather shoes he was wearing, and couldn't help but smile and look at Belfast. I have all my clothes with me in Belfast, so I'll find a place where no one is around to change them later. That's it? Well, I just saw a road there, let's head there. After all, if there is a road, it proves that someone has walked there, Bismarck said. Good. After speaking to the other ship girls who were preparing to set up temporary accommodation, Qin took Belfast, Bismarck, and Glory to the depths of the island. Several carrier-based aircraft took off from the glorious ship and flew high into the sky. With their presence, Qin and the others avoided many detours. Not long after, the carrier-based aircraft brought back traces of human life. Following the direction explored by the carrier-based aircraft, the three of them walked for a while and found a relatively flat place. Several stone houses stood not far away, and in front of the houses was a piece of land that had been reclaimed and planted with some fruits and vegetables that Qin couldn't name. The four of them looked at each other, and Qin said, there are people living here, but after seeing our carrier-based aircraft, why did they avoid it? Perhaps they mistake our carrier-based aircraft for the Sirens' carrier-based aircraft. Bismarck looked around and said. How is that possible? Don't they even recognize the appearance of the carrier-based aircraft? Qin Ji asked doubtfully. Bismarck shook his head and explained, they probably didn't want the Siren carrier-based aircraft to discover their existence, so when they heard the sound of the carrier-based aircraft, they had already started to avoid it. As for what the carrier-based aircraft looks like, they may not have looked at it at all, but this is just my guess. If I search here later, I should almost know. Qin Ji nodded, what you said is correct. Usually, if you start to evade when you hear the engine sound of a carrier-based aircraft, you will indeed not be discovered by the carrier-based aircraft, but at the same time, you will not be able to detect any type of carrier-based aircraft. Then let's search here. I believe we will find something remarkable, Guanghui said with a smile. Immediately, several people started searching here. As they explored, several people discovered that there were some very modern things here, and according to Qin Ji's judgment, these things should have been disassembled from the command ship. Soon, Bismarck, who was attentive on the other side, found something unusual in a room. Commander, look here, Bismarck pointed to a covering board on the ground and said. Qin Ji suddenly said in surprise, authentic. Well, or should we say it's an air raid shelter, Bismarck said to Qin Ji, and then reached out and pulled open the wooden board on the ground. What caught the eyes of the four people was a dark passage, and this passage was diagonally downwards. Qin Ji immediately looked at Guanghui and said, Guanghui, release a carrier-based aircraft to go in and see where this tunnel leads. Or it is an air raid shelter. See if there is anyone underground. Yes, Commander. Guanghui nodded quickly, and with a flick of her hand, a small carrier-based aircraft appeared around her. After the carrier-based aircraft flew around her, it penetrated into the dark tunnel. As soon as they entered a dark place, the lights on the carrier-based aircraft were turned on directly, and the tunnel was suddenly as bright as day. The carrier-based aircraft quickly disappeared into the tunnel, and Guanghui closed his eyes, obviously controlling the carrier-based aircraft carefully. After a while, Guanghui opened his eyes, but the carrier-based aircraft did not appear at the tunnel entrance. Commander, this tunnel leads directly to the forest area behind. There is a cave there. My airborne radar detected the presence of life there, Guanghui said to Qin Ji. Now I am letting the carrier-based aircraft monitor it there to prevent the breath of life from escaping. We can walk directly over the land. Qin Ji couldn't help but smile after hearing this. Okay, let's go there quickly. I would like to meet this commander who can fight underground for a while. Several other ship girls couldn't help but smile, obviously they were also a little curious. A dignified commander could actually be reduced to building tunnels on a deserted island. What happened? Several more people walked out of the room and began to walk towards the location marked by the carrier-based aircraft. Sure enough, next to the hut, there was a path that was stepped on, winding to the mountain forest area behind the stone house. After traveling for about 10 or 20 minutes, with a wave of Guanghui's hand, a small carrier-based aircraft flew out from the dense forest along the way. It was obviously the carrier-based aircraft that Guanghui had flown before, and Guanghui was recovered here, which also meant that everyone was very close to their destination. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 576. Qin Ji never imagined what a human would be like after living on an island for a year or two with his own ship girl. But when he entered the cave, he saw the real scene. A middle-aged man wearing somewhat wrinkled clothes and more than 20 ship girls in ship uniforms were sitting on the ground talking. And these ship girls surrounded this middle-aged man, as if he was their support at this moment. The commander of Donghuang? And the ship girl. When Qin Ji and others entered the cave, the middle-aged man reacted quickly and immediately recognized the training camouflage uniform Qin Ji was wearing, as well as Bismarck and the others following him. Qin Ji nodded, glanced at the situation in front of him and said, "Qin Ji, commander of the Xingai fleet belonging to Dong Huang, who are you?" The man stood up immediately, pulled down his somewhat wrinkled clothes, and saluted Qin Ji with a standard military salute. Frontline Commander Zhang Yao is a lone wolf. It turns out it's Yu Guanghui, who was standing next to Qin Ji, suddenly said in surprise. For a moment, both Qin Ji and Zhang Yao looked at Guanghui strangely. "You know him? You know me?" Facing the two people's questions, Guanghui said with a smile, but the main target was naturally Qin Ji. "Commander, do you still remember what I told you about my previous experience? Commander Zhang Yao should be considered a very good commander on the front line. The ship girls under his command have relatively high levels of training, and the ship's installation facilities are complete. No less than some of the elites in the large fleet. I also had some memories of him when I was on several missions, and the free ship girl who was traveling with me mentioned him." Qin Ji nodded and said with a smile, "So that's what it's like. Are you a free ship girl?" "No, you have already called him commander, so you were a free economy before and now you are the ship girl of Commander Qin Ji," Zhang Yao asked in surprise. He was a little surprised that the first people he met on this deserted island turned out to be people who knew his identity. "Yes, I left the front line 3 years ago, and then became the commander's ship's wife," Guanghui said happily. "I see, so you were also blown away by the storm during your mission this time to this island?" Zhang Yao asked. Qin Ji shook his head, "No, Guam is our target and our future base. We drove near this port and saw a rusty command ship next to it, and then we speculated that there must be someone on this island. It turns out that this island is called Guam," Zhang Yao said with some embarrassment. "Yes, can you tell me why you came to this island? Moreover, your ship girl seems to have lost the ability to fight," Qin Ji asked. Zhang Yao glanced at his ship girl and said with some remorse, "More than a year ago, I received a mission on the front line, which was to go south from Ryukyu, pass through the middle level 4C area and level 5C area, and reach the Philippine Sea. Look for the Siren Enforcer in the 6th level C area to the south. However, we did not expect to encounter a huge storm after arriving at the target location. We could not compete with the force of nature. Moreover, there was also a problem with the power system of the command ship at that time, so we could only drift with the tide of the huge storm. That big storm lasted for a long time, and I thought we wouldn't survive. But I didn't expect that we didn't encounter the Siren fleet along the way, and we were just swept away by the ocean currents and drifted to the vicinity of Guam. At that time, we couldn't tell the specific location, so we looked for islands nearby where we could stop. So I found this island, and also found a natural hidden harbor. Later, my ship's wife towed the command ship to the port together. Since the command ship had power problems and there was no supply for such a long time, we could only wait on the island if a commander passed by nearby. Our radar signals can be searched. However, after waiting for a full year, the radar could no longer be activated, and no one had arrived yet. Fortunately, my ship girl was by my side at the time, otherwise I would have really gone crazy. And because the ship girls have not been able to replenish their energy for a long time, and the remaining oil has been used up, they are no different from ordinary girls now. This is also the reason why we quickly hid when we heard the engine sound of the carrier-based aircraft before, because the Sirens carrier-based opportunities often pass through this island, and we were almost killed once when we were discovered." Qin Ji touched his nose and said, "Commander Zhang Yao, I sympathize with your experience, but you are fine now. If you can, come with us to our temporary station, where you can replenish your ship's oil and ship mother's special food. Let your fleet regain its fighting strength, and we will take you back when we leave this island." "Really?" Zhang Yao said excitedly, "are you really willing to help me?" Qin Ji smiled and said, "Isn't this inevitable? But one thing to note in advance is that we need to stay on this island for a month or two before returning. I hope you don't be anxious. Zhang Yaoa quickly shook his head. I have been waiting for more than a year, and I don't mind waiting another month or two. Qin Ji smiled and said, then it's best. Let's get out of here first. Good. While talking, everyone left the forest and returned to the beach. Zhang Yao's face was full of surprise when he saw a group of barbarians working hard to build the port. Commander Qin Ji, are you directly affiliated with the headquarters? Zhang Yao asked. Can you get things like Manjiu? Do you know those little guys? Qin Ji asked in surprise. After all, Guang Hui didn't know them before, but he didn't expect Zhang Yao to know them. Yes, I went to the 6th level sea area to hunt the enforcers for their core wreckage. And as far as I know, these core wreckage are used to build these little guys, Zhang Yao said. Qin Ji nodded. Yes, it is true that the core wreckage was used to build these barbarians. But I am not a large fleet directly under the command. This is just a deal between me and the commander-in-chief. Ah, Zhang Yao was even more surprised. Who is the commander-in-chief of Donghuang? He naturally knew that the person who could negotiate a deal with the commander-in-chief and dispatch the logistics troops of the headquarters would definitely not be an ordinary person. But he had really never heard of the Star Sea Fleet. Could it be the fleet that suddenly sprang up after he disappeared? Zhang Yao didn't know, and he didn't know what the situation was in Donghuang now. So Zhang Yao, who had a lot of questions to ask, was about to speak when he saw several ship girls walking over quickly from a distance. Commander, it seems you have discovered something. Are they the owners of that command ship? Veneto said to Qin Ji. Yes, brother Qin introduced with a smile. Surrounded by Commander Zhang Yao, he drifted here due to an accident a year ago. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 577. Qin Ji's introduction made his shipgirls aware of Zhang Yao's situation, and also asked his shipgirls to take out the reserve supplies and give some to Zhang Yao, so that his shipgirls could at least recover their strength. After all, this is a fierce man who can carry out missions in the 6th level waters alone. It can be imagined that his fleet girls must be very powerful. Sure enough, after replenishing oil and food for the ship girls, a powerful aura was revealed from the 20 or so ship girls. Qin Ji couldn't help but nod secretly. Sure enough, no lone wolf who dared to act alone on the front line was easy to mess with. Because Qin Ji's fleet also has fully trained ship girls and even awakened ship girls, he is still very sensitive to this aura. Even without the need for confirmation from his own ship girl, he can still feel that there are at least more than 10 fully trained ship girls in the opponent's fleet, and the training levels of the remaining ship girls are not low, basically. They are all around 90 or so training levels. Seeing his ship girl's recovery, Zhang Yao often breathed a sigh of relief. I used to be a well-known figure on the front line, but my more than a year in Guam has been too frustrating. I'm really grateful to Commander Qin. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid my wife and I would have to grow old silently on this island sitting at the dining table. Zhang Yao thanked Qin Ji again in front of him. Qin Ji smiled and shook his hand. They are all commanders, and this is just a small effort. There is no need to thank you anymore. If you thank me anymore, it will be ignored. Okay, Zhang Yao was also a cheerful person and agreed immediately. After taking a bite of food, he raised his head and looked at the construction site. Commander Qin, you said before that you plan to build a base here? But the surrounding sea areas are not simple. They are all erosion level 5 to level 6 sea areas, and even not far to the south are erosion level 7 sea areas. Qin Ji said with a smile, it is precisely because this place is very dangerous and precisely because no one comes here that I want to set up an advance base here. In the future, this place will not only be the base of our fleet, but also the logistics base for Donghuang and Chongying to expand to the Pacific. The Mariana Islands, where Guam is located, is a key location for continued operations in the Pacific. As long as Guam is preserved, Other islands such as Saipan can be brought under our rule. If the front line is the front to fight against the Sirens and defend the continent, then this place will become our forward base to attack the Sirens in the future. This is really a bold idea, Zhang Yao said in surprise. He was even more curious about Qin Ji now, but why have I never heard the name of Commander Qin's Star Sea Fleet before? Qin Ji smiled and said, because the Xingai fleet has only been established for more than 3 years, so Commander Zhang Yao, who is often on the front line, has never heard anything very normal. 3 years, Zhang Yao opened his mouth. Commander Qin, I see that you look very young. Please ask, how old are you this year? Did you build the Xingai fleet? I am over 25 years old this year, and I will soon be 26. I was indeed the one who built the Star Sea Fleet, and I built it when I was in the Commander's Academy, Qin Ji said with a smile. Huh, Zhang Yao was stunned at this time. As a lone wolf, he had experienced many things and thought nothing could shock him. But when he heard Qin Ji's resume, he still couldn't control his expression. Achieving the rank of colonel at the age of 26? Leading a large fleet and then setting up a forward base in Guam, where no one dares to come. Qin Ji smiled and said nothing, but this behavior became unfathomable in Zhang Yao's eyes. Zhang Yao thought quickly in his mind, and then said to Qin Ji, Commander Qin, are you still recruiting people for your fleet? Qin Ji paused while eating, you mean, you want to join my fleet? Zhang Yao nodded, I have figured it out over the past year or so here that there is no way out for a lone wolf, especially in such a large sea area. If I had belonged to a large fleet before, then when there was a storm, it was possible that my teammates from the large fleet would have come out to look for me, and I would not have been trapped on this island for so long. As my savior, if possible, I naturally want to join Commander Qin's fleet. And I can guarantee that with just one order, I will dare to brave even the most dangerous waters. Qin Ji smiled, our fleet has only one criterion for recruiting members, and that is absolute obedience and quick integration into the group. You have been a lone wolf for so many years, do you think you can meet this standard? Zhang Yao smiled and said, perhaps I would have refused without hesitation before, but after what happened this time, I don't care about it anymore. And I also want to try what it feels like to work together on a mission, so it's no problem. Qin Ji took a deep look at Zhang Yao and then smiled, then welcome, Commander Zhang Yao. Thank you, Commander, Zhang Yao said. Qin Ji smiled and said, then let's take advantage of this period of time to let your ship girl and my ship girl conduct joint drills first. Let's get familiar with the offensive and defensive methods of our fleet, and change the previous formation so that it will be more stable, a good fit into our fleet. Clear. In the following period, in addition to leaving some ship girls to protect Manju's construction, other ship girls led Zhang Yao's ship girls to conduct actual operations in the waters near Guam. After all, they are all experienced ship girls, and they don't need to be trained from the very beginning like Li Chenming and others. By directly engaging in joint combat, conveying orders at all times, maintaining formations, and specifying attack targets, you can adapt to combat relatively quickly. However, some of the small actions, behaviors, and emergency responses that have been cultivated are still difficult to change in a short period of time. This requires long-term joint operations to change it bit by bit. This is also the reason why Qin Ji chose to train together and conduct joint exercises when he was in the academy. That is to cultivate the unity of a group of ship girls and lay a solid foundation for unified command in the future. When Guan Shui and Yun Zi entered the large fleet, this training was also carried out, and the subsequent joint operations are being carried out now. On the other side, through his own ship girl, Zhang Yao also had a great understanding of the strength of Qin Ji's ship girl. Zhang Yao had previously thought that Qin Ji would be very powerful if he could use a fleet to come here, but when his ship girls brought him back, Qin Ji's fleet had several awakened ship girls, and most of the ship girls were fully trained. While doing so, Zhang Yao was still stunned in place for a long time. I haven't been out for more than a year. Is the world already so crazy? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 578. A month passed by in a hurry. It has to be said that Monju's construction speed is very fast, and the entire port base is expanding day by day at a speed visible to the naked eye. The construction of the inner and outer port areas has been completed, and the central administrative office building has also been erected. The Qingji fleet's dormitory building and supporting facilities were also completed during this period of time. Although the overall construction progress of the port area is still relatively small, according to the current progress, after the port area of Ryu Island is handed over in the second half of the year, the construction here can definitely be completed. And now it's time for Qingji to prepare to go back. After all, he came here this time for actual survey and to let the ship girl search the specific conditions of the waters near Guam. These things have been completed within this month, and this time there is an unexpected harvest, that is Zhang Yao and his ship girls. Then, I'll leave Guam to you, Bismarck. Qingji stood on the dock and said to Bismarck, New Jersey and the others will also stay here to guard Guam with you. Next, after I go back, I will ask Kakashi to come over with supplies from our port area. I will shift my focus here step by step in the future, and report to me in time if anything happens. Of course, if the matter is urgent, you can also take your own decision and report to me after it is completed. I understand, Commander, Bismarck said in a deep voice. Don't worry, I will manage this place well. Qingji nodded. If you want to do something, just do it boldly. I believe in your strength. Clear. Qingji smiled and hugged Bismarck, then boarded the command ship with a smile on her slightly embarrassed face. After Qingji boarded the command ship sounded a long whistle, gradually withdrew from the port, and drove away in the direction from which it came. Haha, it turns out you also have this side, New Jersey said while standing next to Bismarck with a smile. You're wrong. Bismarck glanced again in the direction Brother Qin was walking, then turned his head and said while walking towards the port area. Haha, I know you're right, but I know it. But from now on, we will be partners. Please give me some advice, New Jersey said along with Bismarck. Well, let's discuss the next plan. Bismarck nodded, but his footsteps did not stop. Plan, New Jersey wondered, aren't we responsible for patrolling near Guam and protecting these barbarians? Is there any other plan? In addition to the installation of sea area detection devices, observation devices must be set up in the other 3 places in Guam. There are still many things to do, Bismarck said. All right. After nearly 10 days of voyage, the fleet led by Qingji finally crossed the Philippine Sea and returned to the port area of Sun Moon Island. After leaving Zhang Yao to the Wasp, who came to greet him to handle some matters, Qingji returned to the command room with Emperor Frederick. My child, welcome back. How are things going in Guam? Emperor Frederick said to Qingji with a doting smile. Qingji smiled and said, no problem, the port area is under construction now, and it will probably be fully completed in the second half of this year, and we can move in directly then. The surrounding sea areas have also been detected similarly, but some places are not consistent with the detection on the chart. It may be that so much time has passed and the timeliness of the chart is also wrong. Therefore, I currently leave it to Bismarck. With her ability, it is still very easy for her to deal with it. And based on her understanding, I feel that without my constraints, perhaps earth-shaking changes will occur in Guam. Bismarck is a very outstanding leader, and she will definitely straighten it out. My children don't need to worry, just deal with it seriously, and just deal with things here, Frederick the Great said with a smile. Qin nodded. Well, what happened here while I was away? It's nothing major. The other children from the expedition training came back once, replenished supplies and oil, rested for a day or two and then left. Dong Huang wanted to send a few researchers here, but I refused. Through negotiation, the option of sending scientific researchers has been changed to exchanging scientific research experience, which is more beneficial to us, said Frederick the Great. Haha, actually this is good. When we fight the sirens at a more frontline place, we will definitely come into contact with some things more than Dong Huang did. So although this collaboration seems to benefit us now, in terms of long-term interests, both parties will not be too bad. Qin nodded. As for other aspects, I did receive some interesting information. Frederick the Great smiled. What? Qin asked. I still remember that when we were fighting the builders before, we also discovered strange places in the distant Free Iris Sea. Recently, we finally got a result. It was also the work of the siren, and the fifth siren appeared. Wren-shaped command unit, the Purges, said Frederick the Great. And because Liberty Iris was not fully prepared, it caused certain casualties. However, most of them were ordinary commanders and ship girls. There were no casualties among Liberty Iris top brass. Did the Purge appear? And such a big thing happened to Free Iris. Qin frowned. This almost means that all the information has been put on the surface. It seems that the siren will make big moves in the future. Yes, I wonder if you have noticed that since you returned to the port area today, the envoys from several camps are no longer here, Frederick the Great said. Qin was stunned. Have they all returned to their respective camps? Frederick the Great nodded. Yes, before you came back, they each left their dedicated communicators and left Dong Huang. Where are Akagi and Kaga? Qin asked. They didn't express their opinions. Akagi is a very shrewd person, not to mention that she has Magi by her side, so my child can rest assured, Frederick the Great said with a smile. Well, since everything is fine, that's fine. Next, we just need to carry out things in the port area down to Earth, and then wait for the base on Guam to be built. By then, we will be able to leap into the sea. Qin nodded and said. Yes, we must make all preparations and predict all possible situations, Frederick the Great said. But now, my child has gone through such a long voyage. Let's have a good meal first, and then have a good sleep. When we get up tomorrow, we can talk about work. Qin couldn't help but smile, feeling a burst of fatigue in his body, and said to Frederick the Great, Okay, then I'll worry about you for the rest of the day. It's okay, just rely on me more. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 579. Since the builder crisis in the sea was quelled, the port area where Qin is located has not encountered other invasions for a long time. The other commanders and ship girls should do the entrustment, and those who should go to the erosion level 4C area should go to the special training. Time soon came to June. At this time, in the port area, the ship girl had gradually stopped entrusting tasks and focused all her attention on inventory and transportation of materials. Because soon, the port area will be handed over, and then they will go to their base. In order not to be too heavy when leaving, some things must be shipped directly to Guam now. So for a whole 6 months, Qin ship girls rushed to and from the route from Ryu Island to Guam. By the time WASP sent a notice to Qin, the things in the port area had almost been moved. Early July, Qin looked at WASP and asked. Yes, after all, it has been more than half a year. The Maritime Safety Administration can definitely find a large fleet that can be deployed here, WASP said with a smile and nodded. Well, most of the things have been transported to Guam during this period, and the remaining scientific research instruments and the like can be handed over to Akashi to take with him. After the handover, we can head to Guam. Qin Ji said with a smile. Yes, Wasp said, will you be stationed in Guam from now on? Qin Ji nodded, probably yes, maybe in the future we will rely on Guam to spread our fleet across the entire Pacific Ocean. Spread the fleet across the entire Pacific Ocean, Wasp smiled, I guess only your fleet can do such a thing. However, you should be careful recently. Since the Siren humanoid command units appeared in the waters outside your port area and Free Iris, other situations have appeared in the waters of other camps. It is still not possible to confirm the Siren's next movements, so I suggest that your fleet should focus on defense when you have not received accurate information in the recent period. Qin Ji nodded, I also understand this, so this is just a future goal. It is impossible to spread my fleet across the Pacific Ocean right now. That's good. I'm very much looking forward to that day. If the entire Pacific Ocean is controlled, then Dong Huang and the surrounding people will be able to live and work in peace and contentment. I think your name will definitely remain in the annals of naval history of each camp. The Wasp said. Qin Ji smiled and shook his head, forget it and leave a name in history. It's hard to say whether this goal can be achieved, so just try your best. Haha, Wasp smiled, took out a box from the ship's installation space and handed it to Qin Ji. By the way, this is for you. Qin Ji took the box doubtfully, this is it? Would you know if you open it and take a look? Wasp said with a smile. Qin Ji opened the box with a trace of doubt and saw a set of military rank badges. He was surprised and said, is this the rank of Brigadier General for me? Yes, in fact, based on your merits, we could have given you this already. However, you have never gone to the Maritime Safety Bureau to apply for a military rank promotion, so we subconsciously thought that you had forgotten. But this time you are going to Guam, which is very far away from Dong Huang, and you may not have time to handle these things in the future, so Director Kang Long will help you. Anyway, based on what you and Commander-in-Chief Yuxian said, you will be included in Dong Huang's establishment in the future. Wasp said with a smile. However, military ranks such as Rear Admiral, Lieutenant General, Admiral, and even the 5-star Admiral, Marshal, etc. must be issued by the Command Department in person. The Maritime Safety Administration can only grant the rank of Brigadier General. Qin Ji smiled and touched the rank of Brigadier General with his hand. Oh, I was a colonel before I came here. Now I am a Brigadier General when I leave here. It's a bit fast. It is indeed much faster than other commanders. For example, the Zhang Yao you rescued last time has been fighting on the front line for more than 10 years. He is in his 40s this year and has the rank of Senior Colonel, Wasp said with a smile. What about the rest of my fleet? Their military ranks should have been improved, right? Qin Ji asked. Yes, according to their achievements, although they are not as exaggerated as yours, they are still much faster than other commanders. Basically, they are all about the rank of Major now, Wasp replied. Tisk Qin Ji was speechless, but didn't say much. Many legends will be born in the war years. Their military ranks are not linked to seniority, but to military exploits. If it were placed in the peaceful era where Qin Ji lived, it would be impossible to be promoted to the position of a senior colonel without certain qualifications and certain achievements. Okay, that's all there is to it. I've given you the direct contact information of Commander-in-Chief Yuxian. As for the contact information with the Maritime Safety Administration, I've also given it to Emperor Frederick the Great. If you need anything, just contact me directly. Wasp said. Where will you go when you go back? Qin Ji asked Wasp. Maritime Safety Administration, where else can we go? Wasp said with a smile. Isn't it the headquarters? I always thought you were directly affiliated with the headquarters, Qin Ji said. After all, Wasp can directly contact Yuxian. It is impossible to say that it has nothing to do with the commander. No, I belong to the Maritime Safety Administration, but I am responsible for the coordination between the Maritime Safety Administration and the headquarters, so I am familiar with both parties, Wasp explained. Qin Ji nodded. I see, I thought you were sent to the Maritime Safety Administration by the headquarters. Haha, I rarely see Commander Qin Ji guess wrong. It seems that my job is pretty good, Wasp said with a smile. Ha, I'll work hard for you for a few more days, Qin Ji smiled. It doesn't matter, we are all so familiar, Wasp smiled and waved his hand. Then you go ahead and I'll go out first. As Wasp left the office, Brother Qin chuckled, then stood up from his desk, walked to the window nearby, and looked at the beach in the distance. The scenery in Ruyan was still so familiar. He had been seeing the scenery for nearly 2 years. I still feel a little reluctant to leave here suddenly, just like leaving the Commander Academy before. However, as a commander of a large fleet, you must learn to let go of this separation. Whether it's a familiar person or a familiar place, there is always a new battlefield waiting for you. Just when Qin Ji was staring out the window in a daze, the door of the office was gently opened, and a handsome figure walked in. He looked at Qin Ji standing at the window and said, "Commander, Akashi brought the latest news. Our scientific research equipment and some large items have been taken to Guam. We can just take the rest with us when we leave." Qin Ji nodded. I understand. My ship girl, my world. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 580. On the 8th day of July, the sun was shining brightly. Qin Ji led the company and saluted a middle-aged man on the dock. "Then I'll leave it to you, Commander Singh." "Leave it to me, Commander Qin." The man Qin Ji called Commander Singh saluted back and said to Qin Ji, "But are you leaving so soon?" Qin Ji smiled and said, "Wouldn't it be easier for you to start work after I leave?" "Ha, that's true." Commander Singh smiled and looked at the company next to Qin Ji with some envy. "Then I wish you all a safe journey." "Thank you." Qin Ji smiled. "Then we'll leave." The moment he said goodbye, Qin Ji raised his head and took a deep look at the gate of the port area, then took the company and stepped onto his command ship without looking back. As the whistle sounded, dozens of command ships slowly exited the port and headed towards Guam. "We just left like that," Guang Hui said to Qin Ji while looking at the Sun Moon Island that was gradually becoming blurry. "Yes, because we are going to a new place and start our new journey," Qin Ji said with a smile. "But this time, the commander will just try to stay in the base and work when he goes there. I heard that the situation there has changed a lot, and the probability of submarines appearing there is also relatively high. In this case, the entire sea area will appear more dangerous. For the safety of the commander, we have to pay close attention to it," Guang Hui said to Qin Ji. Qin Ji shrugged. "Don't worry, do you think whether I can go to sea now is controlled by my will? And even if they let me go to sea, it would only be possible with the protection of many people, just like the last time we came to Guam, or when we were dispatched to everyone." Enterprise smiled slightly. "The commander is the person who coordinates the overall situation, just like the Marshal Dong Huang said, and we are the generals under the commander. Go to the front line to fight the enemy. We are all you need. The commander only needs to sit at our base and deploy the next strategy." Qin Ji smiled and blinked at Guang Hui. "You see, this is what I said before. Whether I can go to sea now is not controlled by my will, and I am not the only one who has more than 10 of you before. Haha, this is good. Commander now only needs to wait for the news of our victory in the rear," Guang Hui said with a smile. "Then does the commander prefer to sit in the rear, or go out and fight with us?" Enterprise asked. Qin Ji thought for a while and said, "I should say I am attacking with you. I feel that if I always stay at the base, I will not be able to feel the artillery fire from the front, and I will gradually become indifferent to the war. I think all reports are just numbers. I cannot empathize with you or understand the environment you are in, so I cannot make the most accurate judgment. Although I also like to fight side by side with the commander, for the safety of the commander, sometimes some compromises must be made. Enterprise smiled. Ha, I know. Chin Ge smiled, glanced at Ryu Island, which could no longer be seen, and said to everyone, let's go into the cabin. Although the sun is very sunny today, the wind is also quite strong. Along the way, dozens of command ships lined up in a neat formation on the sea. Such a large fleet will naturally attract siren attacks, so the number of sirens encountered along the way is much greater than the number of sirens Chin Ge encountered when he first went to Guam. Originally, it would only take 2 days to travel from Ryu Island to Guam without the sirens. But now they walked for more than half a month before maintaining their formation and arriving at the port of Guam. Entering the inner harbor from the outer port, all command ships enter their respective docks in sequence. Chin Ge's command ship was moored at an exclusive dock location, which was directly opposite the gate of the port area. When everyone stepped off the command ship, they saw Bismarck waiting at the port entrance with the ship's wife who had arrived in Guam in advance. "Commander, welcome home," Bismarck said to Chin Ge. "Haha, Commander, have you missed us?" New Jersey laughed from the side. Chin Ge smiled and nodded. "I think about you all the time, so as soon as I handed over the port area on Ryu Island, I immediately brought everyone here. You have worked hard during this time." "It doesn't matter, this is what we should do," Bismarck said. Brother Chin smiled, then looked up at the majestic port gate and the endless buildings behind it. "When I left, I remembered that this place had just been built a little bit. I didn't expect that when I came back, it would already be like this. Those barbarians are really powerful." "By the way, where are they now?" Chin Ge asked. "After our port area was completed in the first 2 months, I took them to build several temporary docks and supply points on the upper, lower, and right sides of Guam. They are currently building connections to the 3 supply points." "Highway," Bismarck replied. Chin Ge nodded. "Okay, that means our seaports can be placed in all directions in the future, and our ship girls can go there by taking a car on the island." "Yes, so Akashi has put some cars and motorcycles on the shelves. Then we can choose from them and see what they like. But the main seaport is still here. After all, what we need to open now is the channel connecting the Donghuang front line and the Chongying front line," Bismarck said. While a few people were talking, almost all the command ships docked in place, and the personnel also stepped off the command ships. "My God, this port area is so impressive," Zhang Xiaotian said in surprise. "Commander, is this our base in the future?" Chin Ge smiled and nodded. "Yes, this is what I told you a while ago." "How is it? Do you like it?" "This place is simply great, and I just saw it from the command ship. The beach here is also great. The buildings are so grand now, and it is much better than the port area on Ryu Island." Wang Yukin laughed. "Road. Yes, that's very agreeable." Guan Shui nodded quickly and said. Chin Ge smiled and said, "If that's the case, then it's the best. Let's settle down our ship girl first, and have another party tonight to celebrate. Long live the commander." A group of people were laughing and making noise, expressing their excitement. Chin Ge shook his head in amusement, looked at Bismarck and said, "They don't know much about the situation in the port area yet, so they sent someone to take them to their accommodation building, and then they can move freely after settling in. I have arranged this in advance, Commander, you can rest assured," Bismarck said. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Muji. Chapter 581. Everyone who came to the Guam base quickly became familiar with the affairs of the Guam base. They discovered that the previous affairs on Sun Moon Island could be regarded as a rehearsal for the Guam base. So when everyone blends in, nothing feels out of place, and the biggest change is that the sirens at the door are more powerful. It's like the distance between where you work and where you live was far away, and moving this time is equivalent to moving your place of residence to a location closer to where you work. Moreover, the work I was doing was upgraded to a higher level and became more difficult. But everyone's mentality is still very good, especially after John Yeoha joined the fleet, which gave more commanders hope. Because John Yeoha could cultivate such a powerful fleet by himself, then with Qin Ji's help, he would definitely be able to make his own fleet so powerful. As soon as this idea came out, everyone's enthusiasm naturally became higher. As for Qin Ji, it took him several days to digest everything Bismarck had done on Guam in the past 6 months. It has to be said that Bismarck's leadership ability is indeed very strong. Not only did he have the foresight to build a road and 3 other reserve ports on the island. The sea area detectors are completely placed in the surrounding 5-level sea areas, so that the changes in the surrounding sea areas are well understood. Moreover, the density of detectors is much higher than those deployed around Sun Moon Island. In addition, they also explored several other islands in the Marshall Islands, and all information on the islands was marked. And a scientific research experimental site was built near Saipan. The main experiments in this experimental field are the things obtained from the Siren stronghold last time, including but not limited to mass-produced battleships, central command signals, micro-layered mixtures, etc. The reason why this experimental site was placed on Saipan instead of near Guam was to avoid causing too much doubts to Li Chenming and others. But they will definitely be involved in it later, but until the results are completed, confidentiality is the priority. At this moment, under the leadership of Bismarck, Qin Ji, and a group of leading ship girls, who had finished browsing the entire layout near Guam, were in temporary housing on Saipan Island. The facilities here are relatively simple, with only a table and a few chairs. So except for Qin Ji sitting at the table, the others were just a few leaders, while the other ship girls were standing around. With our current capabilities, how powerful a mass-produced warship can we imitate? Qin Ji closed his eyes for a long time, then opened his eyes and said to Bismarck. Bismarck said, based on our current understanding and many experiments, the mass-produced warships we can imitate depend on what kind of materials we use. In other words, if we use the wreckage of the Siren fleet in the 5th level sea area to imitate it, then it is guaranteed that we can imitate a mass-produced model with comparable training in the 5th level sea area. The same goes for other levels. Qin Ji nodded, since we can obtain such information and methods, then I believe that other testimonies can also obtain such information and methods. Why don't they take it? Akagi and Kaga, can you explain to me the reason? Having said this, Qin Ji looked at Akagi and Kaga standing next to Nagato. It's simple, because we don't need it, Akagi said with a smile. No need, Qin Ji said in surprise. That's right, Commander, because we have the commander among our men. They can summon the ship girl, and they can also increase the training level of the ship girl to the same level as the high-level mass-produced Siren. And warship girls with the same level of training are definitely stronger than mass-produced Sirens, so of course we won't spend that much effort studying how to control these mass-produced warships, because it's not necessary. Kaga explained. Qin Ji suddenly realized that for the 9 major camps, these commanders were much easier to use than those Siren mass-produced battleships. However, with the current situation of our fleet, it is very suitable to master this technology. Although the training level of our ship girls is relatively high, and the number of ship girls will be larger in the future, our future battlefields will not be limited to the vicinity of Guam. Then they must be sent to various places in small teams. At this time, these mass-produced warships can serve as cannon fodder, attracting enemy firepower, thereby preventing us shipmates from causing casualties. This is also a very good thing. Amagi, standing next to Akagi, smiled. That's the truth. We are different from the other 9 camps, so we must take a road that other camps have never walked before. Bismarck nodded. Qin Ji thought for a while, and then said to Bismarck, but there is a question, that is, can the mass-produced warship we create not use the siren? After all, mass-produced warships of this style have left a mark on the hearts of commanders in each camp. Once they appear, they will be eliminated in advance, which may cause some unnecessary trouble. So, is there any solution to this problem? Bismarck nodded, yes, as long as its core is consistent, there is no problem with the appearance change, but its hull must be rebuilt. I wonder if the commander has any plans. Qin Ji smiled and said, of course, do you still remember what it looked like when you turned into a battleship? The ship girls present were slightly stunned, and Bismarck asked in surprise, does the commander mean that we use our own body as a model? Qin Ji nodded, yes, that's the truth. Your body was determined after repeated deliberation by many smart weapon designers. Those who can survive the baptism of war and exist in the world must be very elite beings. Therefore, there is no problem in directly applying your stylistic text. However, for the sake of unification, we can modify it based on your body and create several warships that are more suitable for our fleet. It's a unique idea, but I think it's very good. Veneto said, in the future, we can use a combination of a smaller fleet of ship girls and a batch of mass-produced warships, which will reduce the number of personnel. There is no waste, and multiple tasks can be deployed at the same time. Yes, that's what I meant. Qin Ji nodded. But I have another idea, said Bismarck. What do you think? Qin Ji asked. We can build a training ground and continuously build siren mass production models so that our low-level ship girls can train here. This model is also very suitable for our fleet, Bismarck said. Qin Ji nodded slowly, maybe we can go deeper and make our experimental field more comprehensive. But this may require more intelligence, Bismarck said. We will have plenty of time in the future. My Ship Girl, My World. Author, Huangming Mu. Chapter 582. Good morning, Commander. As soon as Qin Ji opened the office door, he saw the familiar figure inside. Good morning, Shungqing. Qin Ji walked into the room with a smile, closed the door, and said, has it been your turn this week? Yes, Aurora smiled and said, Commander, are you looking forward to it? I remember it has been a long time since I became your secretary ship again, and the competition in the fleet is very fierce. Qin Ji grinned. Since he was given the Ring of Glory oath, although his work in the port area is not too heavy, the time he spends dating is much more than before. Naturally, the secretary ship is first come first serve, but it is not good to occupy Qin Ji's time all the time, so the ship girls in the fleet formulated a plan, which means that the secretary ship can only date at most during the rotation time of each week. Twice. The rest of the time should be given to other ship girls. After all, it is for the sake of fairness. But when it comes to matters of love, it's never fair. The woman's scheming is most vivid at this time. After all, the target is only Qin Ji, so she basically uses all possible means. But this poll is also based on the fact that Qin Ji doesn't hate it. If it causes Qin Ji to hate it, it will cause the opposite. However, Qin Ji turned a blind eye to such competition. After all, he can't get involved, because he is the referee, and if he goes off the field, it will hurt other people's hearts. So it has been painful and happy recently. Although my schedule is full every day, it is also a very good experience to go on dates with different ship girls or do some happy things. How could I not remember you? Qin Ji smiled and looked at his desk. A bouquet of gorgeous roses was placed there, filling the entire office with the fragrance of roses. Did you plant this here, or did you grow it in the previous port area? Seeing Qin Ji's eyes moving to the roses, Aurora smiled and said, this is the rose bouquet I brought from Sun Moon Island and transplanted here. After these few days of care, it has regained its vitality, so when I came here this morning, I collected a bunch and placed them here with the commander, which can also put you in a happy mood. Qin walked to Aurora with a smile and took a sniff next to her. Sure enough, there is a very strong rose fragrance. It seems that the rose garden should be growing well. Aurora smiled and said, the goddess named Aurora is said to be nicknamed Rose Fingers. Although I am not that powerful, I still have the aftertaste of roses on my fingers. Besides, the roses left on hand still have a lingering fragrance, so maybe that's why it's so obvious to the commander, right? Qin smiled and said, then finish today's work quickly. I will go to the rose garden with you then. I would like to see if the scale of Sun Moon Island and Commander Academy is now bigger than what it was at that time. Expanded a bit. Aurora heard what Qin said and said hesitantly, Commander, does this count in the number of dates? Qin was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, no, how can this be counted in the number of dates? After all, didn't you take the initiative to discuss what you discussed? And I passively accepted it. This is considered a date, but this time I took the initiative to go to the Rose Garden, so we could go there in the name of patrol. Then taking a rest in the Rose Garden wouldn't be considered a violation of the agreement between you, right? Haha, it really doesn't count, Aurora said with a smile. Commander, please work hard. I have marked the important letters and their necessary review with petals. I believe you will read them soon. Well, it's really time to work, so I'll bother you, Qin said, and sat down on the edge of the desk, and began to concentrate on handling the affairs submitted by various departments in the port area. The day's work was completed quickly. After all, there are still relatively few things in Guam now. There is no need to report to the Maritime Safety Administration, and there is no instruction from the Maritime Safety Administration. The workload is suddenly reduced a lot at about 10 o'clock, Qin completed his current work. Logically speaking, after finishing the work, you should go on patrol. But Aurora didn't want to go on patrol so quickly and end the day's work. After all, she is the secretary ship. As long as Qin is working, it is natural for her to follow Qin. But if Qin has finished his day's work, then the secretary ship should do his own thing instead of following Qin. Commander, try this. This is a rose cake made from the rose petals I picked before. It combines the characteristics of Dong Huang and the royal family. The sisters think it is very delicious. Although Aurora is called Shungqing by Qin, she is still a royal ship girl, so the habits of a royal ship girl are also reflected in her. For example, drinking tea after work, Aurora still has this habit even after she has come to Dong Huang and became the Dong Huang ship girl. Commander, how are you? Aurora asked quickly as she watched Qin pick up a piece of pastry and put it into his mouth. The expectant look in his eyes was like that of a child waiting to be praised. Well, it's delicious, Qin smiled and said, actually, I've eaten flour cakes in another world before, but maybe the petals they used weren't as fresh as yours, so I think yours is delicious, the floral fragrance is very strong. Hee, as long as the commander likes it, it's fine. When there are more flower petals in the future, I will make more and send them to the commander, Aurora said happily. Haha, yes, Qin agreed happily. After all, even if he couldn't eat it, he could share it with others. Those destroyers and submarines often like to run to him and always bring some delicious food. Yes. Just like the macarons and other cakes that Dunkirk usually gave to him, Qin always kept some of them and divided the rest between them. After the tea party, the two began patrolling the port area. As usual, they visited various areas and naturally met many ship girls. After greeting everyone with a smile, he and Aurora went to her rose garden. When they were quite far away, Qin smelled the fragrance of flowers filling the air. With the gentle blowing of the sea breeze, it is refreshing. This feeling made Qin look forward to the garden very much, so he and Aurora walked forward faster. After walking through a small road, when I turned the corner, I saw a huge rose garden reflected in the mountains and forests. The delicate flowers are swaying gently in the breeze. This scene makes people feel a little enchanted.